Okay, so he ghosted you, which totally sucks and it hurts, and I've done so many videos on ghosting, so check them out first. But now he's back in your life. Should you take a ghoster back? Hey everyone, it's Renee Slansky. I'm a professional dating and relationship coach. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, then make sure you do so. Now, I have done so many videos on ghosting. How to move on once he's ghosted you. Why do men ghost in the first place? How to get closure after being ghosted. And the response has been crazy. But there's one question that we haven't answered yet. And it's this. What do you do when someone that ghosts you comes back into your life and wants to pick up where they've left off? Should you take them back? What does it even mean? Is it a possibility that they're going to ghost you again, or are they finally ready to have the committed relationship that you wanted in the first place? Well, it's time to dissect it and jump into it and know what it is that you need to do. I'm going to give you 5 kind of things to actually ask yourself before you actually respond, or once you do respond, to being able to get back into this type of relationship with this person. But don't forget, ladies, if you want to know how to get a guy to commit, how to get him to chase you and actually desire you and have the committed relationship with you, I've actually done a free training on this, and the link for that video is in the bio below. But let's talk about it right now. Tip number 1, look at the whole picture. Now, when someone has ghosted us, obviously there's a whole lot of, unanswered questions, and there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of rejection that goes on. And what happens is if he comes back into our life, whether it's a couple months later, whether it's a couple of years later, we can still feel that we have these unanswered questions and that we assume that his presence is going to answer them for us. We need to make sure that whatever decision you make, you aren't doing it, or you're not saying yes to that person purely because you're trying to get closure for what happened all that time ago. The last thing we want to do is make ourselves emotionally vulnerable to someone who's still going to repeat the same patterns over again, or make an emotionally based decision, or even a decision out of revenge so that you can, lead him on so that you can then all of a sudden ghost him and let him know how that feels. Make sure that you're looking at the whole picture. How do you feel about him? What has his response been? What's actually happened in the meantime? What was your relationship like when you were actually dating each other? Not to say that it can't work, and it's not to say that people don't change or there's not an opportunity for you to build something that is healthy and strong this time round. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we're not only seeing it for what we want it to be, that we actually see it for the reality that it is. And that does include taking note of the past, also what happened in between, and the present way that you feel and the present way that they're actually responding to you as well. Number 2, you have to know what his reason was for leaving you. If he thinks that he can just waltz back into your life without actually apologizing or giving you some sort of explanation, then basically you're sending the signal to him that what he did was okay when it wasn't. Now, this isn't about punishing him, basically beating him up every day now that you guys are back together again and reminding him what an amazing catch you are. It's not your job to convince him of your worth. You already should know what your worth is. It's basically your job as a woman to communicate your worth, but not convince any man of your worth. It's really important if he starts messaging you again or wants to communicate with you again, that you make sure that you set that standard straight away, that you hold him accountable to his actions of what he did in the past of ghosting you, because that is just not normal, and it's a really selfish behavior, and it's also quite damaging. And B, you want to make sure that this time round it's going to be different. You're not just going to forget what it is that he did, but it doesn't mean that you have to punish him with what he did either. So ask him, what was his reason of why he disappeared? Maybe he's come back and he's already apologized, and he said that the reason was because he got scared, or he just didn't feel that he was ready and he didn't want to hurt you. Go figure. What is his intention behind now wanting to be with you again or communicate with you once again? It's almost like you have to clear the air that's gone between you two, because when someone ghosts you, as I said, it leaves a lot of unanswered questions and you don't really know why they left you. So it's important that you're able to talk about that before you take the next step of actually starting to date each other once again. Which brings me to point number 3. You cannot pick up where you left off. He might come into your life and just assume that, you can all of a sudden just get back to being intimate or back to, dating mode or this and that. It's really about going, well, hang on a second, you need to build trust again. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is over time. So you want to make sure that you're taking it slow and that you're pacing yourself so that you actually know that this time it's going to be different. Taking it slow means that you date each other all over again. Like literally you have to start from scratch. And he needs to know that in order for him to be able to gain your trust and gain a relationship again with you, that he has to prove that he is willing to be that man, that he's willing to actually not ghost you again, that he is going to actually be there by your side and do this journey with you as well. In essence, he has to court you and woo you all over again. And you know what? By communicating that to him, it'll really put the test out there to see whether or not he only wants to come in for a quick little fix and, thank you, wham, bam, thank you, man, and leave, or whether he's actually willing to put in the effort this time and go the full journey with you. Number 4, communicate your standards. This is so incredibly important. Again, it doesn't mean that you have to, beat him up for what he's done in the past, because there's no point living in the past. You can't change it as long as he's aware of it and he's actively doing something about it. Remember, the best apology is change behavior. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are making it abundantly clear what your standards are and what it is that you also desire in a relationship. Now, if he's come back, essentially you still have a little bit more of the power this time round. But it doesn't mean that you use that power to punish him or abuse him or to make him feel bad and guilty about what it is that he's done. You can't keep watering the past or focusing on the past and expecting to move into something that's going to be a healthy present and a strong future. You have to decide to forgive him and you have to decide to let go. But the way that you do that without actually, not brushing over or justifying his behavior is that you communicate your standards and what it is that you truly desire and need in a relationship and from him in order to be able to build trust and move forward. And number 5, let them make a little bit more of an investment in effort, more so in the beginning than you do. Meaning, let them chase you a little bit. Let them actually prove to you that they are different this time round, that they are serious about getting to know you, that they're not just doing this because they're going to get scared again and it's going to repeat the same pattern again and again. Hold your horses as such. This is about really setting that standard and letting them actually come to you, woo you, put that effort in, put that emotional investment in so that you can actually see what they are going to be repetitive in or what they're going to be consistent in. Because remember, whatever a man is consistent in reveals his intentions and his character. If he, again, is always being hot and cold and up and down, then I can guarantee you he'll probably end up ghosting you again, or he'll end up breadcrumbing you this time round or benching you this time round. This is about making sure that you hold back just enough to communicate that you're still interested, but at the same time, you want to actually see him step up a little bit more. Well, there you go, girls. Those are my tips for you. Remember, no one is perfect. It's really about knowing what those red flags are and what those white flags are. And sometimes those in-between sort of flags where you're kind of a little bit confused can go either way. They can turn into something wonderful, or they can again turn into something toxic. So that's why we have to keep a standard that protects our self-love and that also sets the foundations in order to be able to build a healthy relationship, because he can either step up or he can step out. All right, beautiful girls. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. I do new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays most of the time. Send this to any of your girlfriends that have been ghosted and, he's come back into their world and you're a little bit unsure. And in the meantime, if you've got any questions, tell me your stories and questions below in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.